Mani Chitratalu.
Do any of you know what that is? Who are we waiting? Right. Okay, well, Mani Chitratalu is the original Malayalam version of a movie which many of us know and love, Bhool Bhulaiya, with iconic Manjalika and Anjalika, and now Roo Baba. Bhool Bhulaiya is such a fun to watch movie. So, Rinav, have you watched this movie?
Obviously, 1st November when it got released.
Same. 1st November, on the release date, we watched Bhool Bhulaiya 3. So, Rinav, could you please let our audience know what is the publishing year and who the director of this movie is?
So it's Anis Bassi and the publishing day was 1st November.
Exactly. Now, Bhool Bhulaiya have always been such a fun series of movie to watch. Rinav, have you watched Bhool Bhulaiya 1?
Yes. 2 and 3 all.
All of them?
Yes.
So, Rinav, start with Bhool Bhulaiya 1. Your experience on that.
What do you want me? It was a very good movie.
It was a very good movie starring Vidya Balan. It showed such complex themes of, things such as personality disorders and how Vidya Balan's character genuinely did believe she was Manjalika. And then moving on to Bhool Bhulaiya 2, where we saw even more complex topics, moving more towards the supernatural, moving towards the more comedic and supernatural side of it, with, with Sara Ali Khan being introduced to the cast, Kartik Aaryan being introduced to the cast, and finally the iconic Tabu being introduced to the cast.
Teen Pandit.
And the Teen Pandit, of course. What was it?
So, Bada Pandit, Chota Pandit, and I forgot.
Panditayan.
Yeah, Pandit.
Panditayan.
Yes.
Yes. With those three characters being added in, Bhool Bhulaiya has always been extremely interesting and has brought forth so much humor. And Bhool Bhulaiya 3 this year, I believe, addressed some of the most interesting and complex themes ever, making it so appropriate to be released on 1st of November. So, what happened in Bhool Bhulaiya 3, Rinav? Would you like to share the storyline with the audience?
Okay. So,
by the way, major spoilers ahead. So, if you have not...
Spoiler.
So, if you've not watched Bhool Bhulaiya 3, you really, really want to come back to this episode later.
Okay. So, what happened was, Roo Baba, obviously everyone knows.
Kartik Aaryan's character.
Yeah. So, he got an offer for 1 crore. At first, everyone knows Roo Baba was fake. So, to prove that, they filmed him.
So, Roo Baba basically, scammed people claiming that he could talk to ghosts.
And it was actually in the start of the thing, there was this one kid, okay, and he burned his house down. So, he called Roo Baba up and Roo Baba told him to act like he was...
possessed by
possessed. Yeah, exactly. And then Roo Baba came with a water gun with him and he just put it on it and then the ghost went.
Yeah, he conducted a fake exorcism on the kid. But basically, this is what Roo Baba's character is like. He gets people out of stuff by blaming it on ghosts. And the story starts when Tripti Dimri's character, along with her mama, who are part of a royal family, call Roo Baba for his services.
And when you see the royal family, you will actually believe it was the royal family.
And what happens is that, Roo Baba's whole cover has been unfolded over here and he has been, discovered by the two of them as a fake scammer. And using, this information against him, they take him to their village to, be able to perform a fake exorcism on their palace. But once he is there, the story completely shifts up. Rina, what is it about?
So, there was this one possessed person, Manjalika, obviously. Bhool Bhulaiya is not
Manjalika.
So, it starts with this one, we don't know if it's a girl or a boy, but dancing. And now, through the dancing, the royal prince, the royal king, yeah. So the royal king, while the person is dancing, comes into the picture and actually burns her or him alive.
So this dancing person, the figure, the whole history starts with, this is a flashback by the way. So this is supposed to be Manjalika. And Manjalika has been burned down by the royal guard. And why we get to know. So the history of this whole Bhool Bhulaiya goes all the way back to this kingdom when it originally was there.
And when you see the different side of the kingdom, when Kartik Aaryan enters, there's one guy, then there are lots of hay around, and you enter the room, you will see that they're fighting for food. There's literally one
instead of living in the palace, they're living in the cowshed.
Because it is possessed.
Because they're scared to go back to the palace. But basically, how this place was in the flashback was very simple. There was a king who ruled over the whole kingdom, had a mighty palace, and he had one very loving daughter, Manjalika. And Manjalika is now supposed to be an amazing warrior, an amazing intellect, the right fit to be the next ruler. And that is exactly when the king has a son, Rajkumar Debundranath. And what happens now is that, Manjulika is extremely jealous of Debendranath because she believes that he will get the throne. And she is proven correct when, Debendranath is of age and the king chooses to hand over his kingdom to Debendranath instead of Manjulika. As a result of this, in the storyline, Manjulika kills Debendranath. And once the king finds out what has happened, Manjulika has been publicly burnt and executed, with her ghost coming back in the form of Manjulika to kill all of her executors, including the king himself.
Now, the three Pandits come into the picture. When they come to know, when they enter Manjulika's room, there was no Manjulika. And they were acting that there was Manjulika.
And just to, make the story a little more complex, so the three Pandits who are living in the possessed castle right now have basically come to the realization that there is no one known as Manjulika and they continue to live there
So,
happily.
any of the royal family living in the palace, the three Pandits are living in the palace.
And then we also come to find out that Kartik Aaryan's character Rubaba is actually supposed to be the reincarnation of Rajkumar Debendranath. And he also believes that he is the one who's supposed to be ending Manjulika. Now, as the story progresses, they together find out that Manjulika does not exist per se, and that the palace is not haunted.
Now, but there are two rooms which were blocked.
Before this, the family then proceeds to try to sell the palace. And to be able to sell the palace, they call two people into the story.
No, one was actually for the palace, but
Yeah.
and one was for the
So,
historical
Yeah,
context.
Vidya Balan's character, who is a part of the restoration team of the palace, and then Madhuri Dixit's character, who is a distant Rajkumari trying to buy the palace. But then once they have entered the palace, there are weird occult things happening all around. And Rubaba, Kartik Aaryan's character, along with Tripti Dimri's character, start believing that either of them could be the real Manjulika hiding. When this entire thing goes around, and in the main action sequence of the movie, you can see a very complex scene where first Rubaba tries to kill Vidya Balan's character, next Rubaba tries to kill Madhuri Dixit's character, and then they realize that neither of them are Manjulika.
It was basically like it was censored away from them.
Exactly.
Even in the scripts, they didn't know that there were two hidden rooms.
And when they discover the hidden room, they find out that Manjulika was actually, drumroll please, Prince Debendranath. The ghost who had come back in the form of Manjulika was not Manjulika's ghost at all.
There was a very ironic scene when they all were fighting. So there was this one place, and the whole place was around fire. So they were surrounded by fire, and the small Pandit comes from air, and he jumps onto the pillar, and he's like Jawan. You know how he's all covered with patches all around him.
Yeah, he looks like a very, very scary warrior, only for us to find out that this is actually Chota Pandit, who has absolutely no skills to save them from
And the
Manjulika.
Jawan theme song is just playing from the background.
But basically, what happens next in the story is very complicated and actually makes us think about, the different socio-political topics we can decipher from here. Prince Debendranath is Manjulika. Looks exactly like a woman, has long hair, wears jewelry, wears, women clothing.
And a dancing person was Prince David.
Exactly. The dancing person in the beginning of the movie was not Manjulika, but in fact Prince Debendranath. Now, Reenab, I would start by asking you, these characteristics of Prince Debendranath reflect the characteristics of a very particular population in India, or the Indian subcontinent for that matter. Do you know who am I talking about?
Transgenders.
Exactly. Prince Debendranath's character was a Hijra. And being a Hijra is such a complex identity to have in the Indian subcontinent, with the country of India very recently recognizing them as a third gender. Hijras have faced numerous issues in Indian history. Now, once again, this is one of those topics which I nerd out about because I am currently working on a whole research paper about the Hijras. So, in religions like Hinduism and Islam to a very high extent, Hijras have been seen as a form of a holy deity, a religious figure. And surely they do gain a lot of respect from people around there, with people viewing them as, someone who can give them what we call dua or blessings. If especially if you go around places like Mumbai, you will find so many Hijras roaming around on the street asking for money in return of dua or blessings. This makes one think of the kind of relationship hijras share with mainstream media in India. Because, due to the different religious perspectives they face upon themselves, they find it difficult to find proper employment. They find it difficult to be able to attend schools. They find it difficult to actually climb up the socioeconomic ladder, making being a hijra in India an extremely, extremely difficult thing, forcing them to have to rely on begging in return of duas to be able to earn enough amount of money.
Even in the movie, on the final time, the two sisters previously they killed Prince Devendranath, but this time instead of killing him, they realized their own mistake, and they finally forgave him, which gave him mukti.
Exactly. And this takes us back to the whole concept of what is this movie truly trying to say about the hijras. Of course, I believe what I could understand from this movie is that Vidya Balan, Madhuri Dixit's character in the past as Manjulika and Anjulika, when they, got Prince Debendranath killed, were, transphobic to very high extents. Their own transphobic ideologies forced them to view Prince Debendranath's actions as something wrong and something bad, forcing his character to get killed. But their second chance of redemption
So it's
given to them.
basically the change of perspective.
Exactly, a shift in perspective which occurs between Manjulika and Anjulika, which, actually changes the way Prince Debendranath's character, a Hijra, ends up finding mukti or freedom. When he is finally accepted by both his sisters, is he truly able to, turn into a spirit and leave world, which is what many of us view to be ultimate freedom. And metaphorically, this talks so much about our own Indian society. While we see the Hijras as extremely important religious beings, do we ever truly acknowledge them as individuals on their own right and come to accept them?
No.
Exactly. And without doing so, do we believe that they will ever be able to get true freedom?
They can through this movie.
Exactly. So I do believe that while Bhool Bhulaiya is an extremely comedic movie with, extremely fun themes and the bare minimum horror you need for it to surpass as a horror movie, this Bhool Bhulaiya, in my review, has also very successfully managed to deal with topics that do matter, such as the topics of hijras over here. And watching this movie with an open mind would help one truly, truly see beyond just the comedy. And, just to make a note on the star cast over here, Reenab, have you ever heard of the actress Tripti Dimri before this? Okay, how do you know about her?
Which movie was it?
Was it through
Good News,
Animal?
Bad News. I forgot which one was it.
Yeah, was it through Animal?
No, Animal was the first, like after the movie. I don't know if it was Good News or Bad News.
So good
Something-
news, bad news. So those
One of
movies.
them. One of them.
So Tripti Dimri has, of course, gained popularity due to movies like Good News, Bad News, and Animal. But also focusing on her career other than this, I would like to recommend two movies to you and the rest of our audience too. This is Bulbul. Have you ever heard of the movie Bulbul? Available on Netflix, I do believe that Bulbul is another movie starring Tripti Dimri as the main character, which is such a complex movie. The storyline of Bulbul, just in a basic, which will not ruin much for you, it's about child marriage and a young girl who is married to a very, very rich family and how this played out. Following into, of course, Tripti Dimri's original genre, this is a gothic supernatural movie. And the next movie by Tripti Dimri, which I believe everyone should be watching, stars Tripti Dimri and Babil Khan. And this is Kalab. Reerav, do you know who Babil Khan is?
No.
Do you know who Ifran Khan is?
Yeah.
Babil Khan is the son of the late legendary actor Ifran Khan.
Okay.
A nepo kid by definition. I do believe that Babil Khan has done everything to, shift himself away from that narrative, working on movies like Kala and The Railwaymen, which actually do bring change. The story of Kala is an extremely fascinating story which looks at family political ties and how they relate in the music industry. Both of these movies are definitely more socially significant than other movies such as Animal and Good News, Bad News. So it is my personal suggestion to you and the audience to go watch both Bulbul and Kala. And that was our reflection on Bhool Bhulaiya 3. Thank you so much for joining us in Tahar Talks today, and we hope to see you next episode too.